The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid. You heard me tell you, I am going away, and I will come back to you. If you loved me, you would rejoice that I am going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. And now I have told you this before it happens, so that when it happens, you may believe. I will no longer speak much with you, for the ruler of the world is coming. He has no power over me, but the world must know that I love the Father, and that I do just as the Father has commanded me." The Gospel of the Lord. Please be seated. Today's readings deal with two difficult themes: departures and hardships. In our first reading today, we have St. Paul and St. Barnabas finishing their first missionary journey. And in seminary, one of the projects they have is us having a big map and mapping out each of their 3 journeys, or at least Paul's 3 journeys. And so this first journey, very much, they go, and then when they reach a certain town, they backstep and go back to all the towns they had been to. And in each town, they appoint elders called presbyters, which are the first priests. The word priest comes from presbyter. And so they put these people to continue the faith in each of their towns. They themselves are the bishops. They're the ones checking in on their children towns. And yet with each town, most of them, they depart twice. They come and they live with them and teach the faith and then go on to the next town. But then they come back again and they check up on them. And they either help them through some problems or they say, "Good job." And then they depart again. And so each of these towns have to see their founders come and go twice. And yet, this also talks about the great hardships that Paul and Barnabas are going through. Paul was stoned, and they thought he was dead. And as soon as they left, he got up and walked right back into the city. And it's interesting, it's kind of like what I said the other day about how God doesn't always conquer our enemies. And sometimes it's okay to flee persecution. Paul and Barnabas did it. Even Jesus did it for a while till it was God's time and calling for them to be martyred. And today we see that God doesn't strike down the enemies of Paul. He just lets them survive. And Paul gets up triumphant, goes right back in to keep doing what he's doing. God is head of his life, not fear, not enemies. And so even though it looks like a victory for the people throwing the stones, it's a victory for Paul. Paul does not stop. And so in our gospel today, we have Jesus telling his apostles of his departure, that he's about to leave. And there's a final gift he wants to give to them, the gift of peace. But he tells them, this peace is not like the world's peace. It's not like the peace I get when I have a huge hamburger in front of me and a big drink, or at the movie theater, a big box of popcorn. That peace comes and goes really fast. The peace God gives is a peace that goes down into your soul, that you know you're doing right, that anything could happen to you, you could suffer anything, and I could die happy right now. That's the type of peace Christ gives. And it really hit me reading this, that it sounds like a death. He says here, if you loved me, you would rejoice that I am going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. When any of us suffer the loss of a loved one, this is what I think about. Is this a funeral of sorrow or a funeral of celebration? And most of the time it's both. We got to get through the sorrow, get through the loss to the part that we're happy for the person, because we're praying for them and believe they're going to the Father, and they're going to be there before us, pray for us, they're going to be happy. Our founder always called the funerals, he said, never use the word funeral. Call it, was it a massive resurrection? Because every one of us is going to be resurrected, and the person that we're honoring is going to be resurrected too. They're not dead. They're alive, and they're going to the Father. And just as Jesus says here, we are sorry for them, but we shouldn't be. We're going to be following after them. And again, through all these hardships, if we're doing it for God, we get that gift of peace. A peace that we can't get from anything else. A peace that cannot be bought by money. It's worth more than anything else, because it's a peace that's a little piece of heaven telling us we're on the right track to the huge peace and the eternal happiness that we're going to. I'll end by saying just an analogy that I love to use. When you are running a race, especially a marathon, you're not thinking about your aching body. Your mind is already on that finish line. Your mind is already on that big gallon of Gatorade that you're going to dump on yourself, and you're going to celebrate with all the people that ran that marathon. As Catholics, our minds have to stay on heaven, have to stay on the peace that we get from doing right. And that's a peace Jesus gives us all. Even as we suffer the worst of things, we have that peace telling us it's okay. God is in control. And this earth is not the end. Everything is for us to get up there. God love you.